Hi, my name is Shane Nelson, and I would like to talk to you about a vision that I had of what I believe to be future events of the Messiah. I decided that I would record what I saw in the dream so that perhaps others may benefit from it, and if anything were to happen to me, the things that I saw might be preserved for the next generation, if there is one. God did not tell me that I could not speak of this dream, and therefore I will try to provide as many details as I can to the best of my ability. When I was in training to be a minister several years ago, I hosted a Saturday Sabbath Bible study at my house with my friends, most of whom were ordained ministers. After a night of praying, I went to bed and had a dream. In the dream, I was in my old neighborhood where I grew up, and the sky was night, but the land all around me was lit up like it was day. Yet the day was darker than normal. I perceived in the vision that the end of the world had come, and I looked up and I saw the full moon. It then morphed into a clock. The clock was ticking very fast, as if to say time was running short. Then I awoke. The next day I told some friends about what I had seen, and a member of our group, an elder known as Lily, told me that I should pray for the interpretation of the dream. So the following night I prayed that God might reveal the meaning of the dream, because I felt that it had significance. That night when I went to sleep, the things that I saw would change my life forever, and how I view the Messiah in a very terrifying way now. The dream is as follows. I was in Jerusalem near the East Gate. I should add that I have never been to Israel or knew much about the East Gate at the time, but it was made known to me where I was in the vision. I looked and I saw the sky black as night with no moon or stars, yet the land was illuminated as day, but there was also a darkness that was covering the land. It's a bit hard for me to explain, but that is how I saw it. Night, day, plus darkness. There was a multitude of people from many nations that had gathered at the east gate. I could tell that there was something not right about these people and that they had an evil intent, but I did not know what it was at the time. I once again perceived that the end had come, and I also perceived that the Messiah was nearby. So I became very afraid, and I tried to flee that area. I pushed through the crowd of people. I would say it was about this many people. I was running with the east gate wall to my right and open land to my left. I would like to note I saw no gravestones in the dream. I then came upon a type of bridge. It was like a two-lane bridge or a ledge. I was halfway across that bridge when I seemingly teleported back to the area that I was. I only found out about the bridge years later when I was using Google Street View to investigate the area that my dream had taken place in, and there is actually a bridge there. Once I teleported back to the area, I found myself in front of the multitude of people, with some people standing a little bit in front of me to my right hand and to my left. I looked and I saw the Messiah standing between the east gate and the multitude of the people about 30 feet in front of me. The people had encompassed around the Messiah, and he appeared to be trapped. Everyone was about 30 feet away from him, and he had his back to the east gate wall. At this point, it was made known to me what the evil intent was of the people, and I heard the thoughts of their hearts saying, "We killed him before, we will just kill him again." I would like to add that within the ranks of this multitude of people I saw no women or children, only grown men from different places of the world. It was not made known to me exactly where they were from. To my right, a little in front of me, were two Jewish men. Both of them were dressed almost exactly alike, and they looked something like this, except they had no horns in their hands. I will now describe what the Messiah looked like in the vision. He had a dark-skinned complexion and stood at about 5 feet 2 inches tall. He had an average build, short, curly, dark hair, and a full beard that came out about an inch from his face. He looked like any ordinary man. In fact, I would make a comparison to what he looked like to be no different than a Middle Eastern or Pakistani person working at a gas station. The clothing that he was wearing looked like warrior's raiment, made of leather, armor, buckles, and straps. Here is the closest representation that I could find as to what he looked like, except he had two shoulder pads and a full set of sleeves on his arm. He had something in his hand, but I could not tell if it was a sword or a rod. Looking back now, I believe it was a rod based on its size and shape. The Messiah stood there with no facial expressions and spoke no words to anyone. He then lifted the device he was holding above his head with both hands and slowly opened his mouth. And he shouted a great shout once his mouth was completely opened. The shout was very loud and harsh. It sounded like something I've never heard before, and it is hard for me to put it into words. The closest thing I can think of is thunder or an explosion, wind, or rushing water, all put into one. It echoed and it faded out. I have tried to find the closest things possible to this sound of the shout by compiling different sound effects that I have found online. Here is the closest thing resembling what I heard. When the Messiah shouted, the whole area became as if it were charged, like static. The wind blew hard. It was as if even the oxygen molecules were living and obeying a command. The entire area was alive and living, and I would even go further to say that his shout was also alive and living. The people all around me fell to the ground in agonizing pain. The two Jewish men to my right actually burst into flames, and they also fell to the ground. Some of the people were in such pain they could not even scream. It was more of a gasp or a groan or a moan. And some of them were more vocal in their torment. The two Jewish people that burst into flames, I did not hear scream, but I did hear the demons inside of them screaming in torment. I suppose now that this was the time of their torment. It was made known to me in the vision the pain that the people were suffering. It was in comparison to a woman giving birth to a child. It was almost as if the very air and the wind around me was the source of the pain, following an order by reason of the shout. Nothing harmful happened to me. I was only there to be a spectator of the events. I once again compiled the sound effects of everything that I heard from a few seconds before the shout to the end of my dream. I have tried to find the closest things to the exact representation of what I heard. I then awoke from my sleep, very shaken and troubled by the things that I had seen. My hands were shaking, and it felt as if a sword had been thrust through my actual spirit, and I was physically stressed. So I got dressed for work and left without saying anything to my wife about what happened. On my way to work, I prayed and asked God to show me confirmation that the dream was from Him. Once I arrived at work, I picked up my Bible and did something that I warn others not to do. I said, God, if that dream was from you, I'm going to open this Bible to a random page and point at a random verse on the page. And if I see something that was revealed in the dream, I will know it's from you. I was becoming quite desperate at the time, and I needed an answer. So I blindly opened and placed my finger, and I read Isaiah 13:8. And they shall be afraid. Pains and sorrow shall take hold of them. They shall be in pain as a woman that gives birth. They shall be amazed one at another. Their faces shall be as flames.